The letter is on your third read, not because the words changed, because the first time your hands were shaking too hard to finish it. The second time, the train lurched through a tunnel and you lost the light. Now it's the third time and you are reading it the way you memorize something you know you will need later, in the dark, when there is nothing else. The postmark is 11 days old. The censor cut one line near the bottom. You don't know what it said. You've decided it wasn't important. You've decided a lot of things tonight that you don't fully believe. You enlisted 8 days after the news broke, not because someone told you to, not because of a poster. Because you were standing in your mother's kitchen, and the radio said what it said, and something in your chest went very still, the way water goes still before it freezes. You didn't tell anyone that night. You just went to bed, and in the morning you already knew. The bus to Fort Benning left on a Thursday. Basic training is 13 weeks. Your drill sergeant's name is Sergeant First Class Harold Briggs, and in 13 weeks you will never once hear him use a man's first name, not one. He knows them all. You watch him and you understand. Names are for people you're allowed to lose. He is not in the business of losing people. You learn the M1 Garand in the dark. 8 round and block clips, semi-automatic. 30 inches of steel and walnut that will be closer to you than any human being for the next 3 years. You learn it until your fingers stop thinking, until the rifle becomes a reflex, until you stop being a person holding a weapon and start being something else. Something that doesn't have a name yet. There is a man 2 bunks down who never complains. Not once in 13 weeks. You don't know his name yet. You will. The bar weighs 19 pounds unloaded. You know this the way you know your own pulse, because you have been carrying it up this hillside in the Italian rain for 40 minutes, and your body has been keeping count even when your mind stopped. Loaded with spare magazines, it is closer to 30. Your left shoulder has been numb since the second ridge. Your right hand has stopped feeling like a hand. This is November 1943. The rain hasn't stopped in 11 days. Not paused, not slowed, stopped. The ground underneath you is no longer a fixed thing. It moves when you move. It holds onto your boots the way something drowning holds onto anything it can reach. The promotion didn't come with a ceremony. It came with a single stripe and a nod from Corporal Eckhart, who said 3 words and walked away. You are now a private first class, which means the Army has decided you are worth slightly more than you were last week. What it actually means is that you are now carrying the BAR. But the BAR is not a burden. Not really, the BAR is suppression. When Eckhart signals the advance and you open up on the position across the ridgeline, you are not trying to kill anyone specific. You are buying seconds. You are purchasing 11 seconds of kept down heads so that the men behind you can cross 20 meters of open ground. 11 seconds is nothing in an ordinary life. 11 seconds is everything here. This is the first real thing the war teaches you. Not tactics, not courage. Time, seconds, not yards, are the currency of this war. The man 2 bunks down from you at Benning is now on your left flank. His name is Thomas Pruitt. He is from Alabama, and he almost never speaks. In the 4 months you have known him, you have never once heard him ask how much further. Only him. You have started to notice that. You are standing outside a door you cannot see the inside of. France? August 1944. A village outside Le Mans that looks enough like home to make your stomach turn. Same style of windows. Same angle of roof lines, the kind of street where, in another life, you would walk slowly, look around, maybe stop somewhere for coffee. You are not walking slowly. Pruitt is on your left, Kowalski on your right, Hernandez 1 step back, because he is your fastest runner, and you keep fast runners close to the center. You don't know what's in the house at the end of this street. You know you have to clear it. Those are the only 2 facts that matter right now. Kowalski bends down and retightens his bootlace. He does this every time. Before every entry, every breach, every door that might be the last one. Nobody taught him. Nobody told him to. He just does it. You noticed it 3 weeks ago and you haven't stopped noticing it since. Because it tells you something about a man. When you see what he does in the 4 seconds before everything becomes uncertain. You stack on the door 4 men, 4 separate sets of lungs pulling air at 4 different rhythms. You can hear all of them. You slow your own breathing down to match nothing, to belong to no pattern an enemy ear could find. Then you give the signal. You go in. This is your 3rd month as a corporal. You are responsible for 4 lives, which sounds like a small number until you understand that 4 lives means 4 mothers, 4 sets of people somewhere who do not know what this door looks like, and you are the one who decided how to open it. Corporal Eckhart used to move through the position at night, quietly, checking on each man, not inspecting, just present. You watched him do it without understanding why. Now you do it for your 4 men, and you still don't have the words for why. You just know that it matters. There will come a night in this war when you have to choose which of your 4 men goes first through a door you can't see the inside of, and there will be no good answer. You haven't faced that night yet. 2:17 in the morning. You are not asleep. You stopped trying an hour ago. You are listening to the Ardennes forest, and the Ardennes forest is not making any sound, and that is the problem. Forest this size, this deep, always makes sound. Wind through pine, small animals, the random percussion of winter settling into wood and frozen ground. This forest is silent, wrong kind of silent. Belgium, December 1944. The Germans came through the trees 3 days ago in numbers nobody predicted, and the war that felt like it was ending has reversed direction completely. Your company is holding a crossroads outside a town called Manhay. Temperature is -12. Your men have no winter gear because someone in the supply chain made an assumption about when this war would be finished. That assumption is not keeping anyone warm tonight. One of your men has been talking to himself since yesterday. Not loudly, not incoherently, just a quiet, continuous murmur like a radio left on in an empty room. His name is Private Darby, and he is not losing his mind. He has simply run out of people to talk to, and the silence became worse than the sound of his own voice. You sit with him for 11 minutes. You don't say much. Neither does he after a while. That is also the job. None of it is in the field manual. You put the machine gun on the road. Delaney's fire team in the tree line left. Green and the BAR at the bend. You do all of this without being told because your platoon lieutenant has a problem 2 kilometers north, and this crossroads is yours. Entirely yours. Nobody above you is coming. They come at 2:30. Infantry and 2 half-tracks and more noise than this forest has ever held. The machine gun fires twice and jams. The oil has thickened in the cold to something closer to paste than lubricant. Private Okonkwo does not panic. You watch his hands find the weapon in total darkness. Not searching, knowing. Every night for 7 months you have watched him field strip that gun before sleeping. Not because anyone ordered it, because his hands needed to know the shape of it without his eyes. 17 seconds. The gun speaks again. The half-tracks stop. The infantry pulls back. The crossroads holds. No one from regiment will hear about this. No report will carry these names. There will be no award, no ceremony, no record of what happened here at 2:30 in a Belgian forest in the coldest December in 30 years. Just 9 men, cold, exhausted, present. That's all. That's everything. The ash gets into everything. Not sand, not dust. Something heavier than both. Volcanic ash from an island that was built by pressure and has never stopped expressing it. It settles into the folds of your jacket, into the threading of your bootlaces, into the space between your ear and your helmet, so that every sound you hear on Iwo Jima arrives filtered through the island itself, as if the ground is deciding what you're allowed to know. February 1945. Your artillery section is in direct support of the Marine assault pushing north toward Suribachi. The foxholes won't hold. You dig and the walls return to flat. You dig again. The island does not care about your timeline. 22,000 Japanese defenders are underneath you right now. Not behind a tree line, not across a river, underneath. In a tunnel network so deep that the pre-invasion bombardment, 16 days of it, touched almost none of it. The men you are supporting are walking over an enemy that cannot be seen, only found. Forward observers call in adjustments. You translate those calls into firing data. A 105mm howitzer at this range. The margin between fire support and fratricide is measured in meters, not hundreds of meters. Meters. You check the math, then you check it again. Always twice. That is not procedure. That is the specific weight of knowing what a mistake means here. A sergeant lives in this minute, this road, this position, this problem directly in front of him. A staff sergeant has to live 20 minutes ahead of everything. What does the next section need before they know they need it? Where is the next problem forming? You are always running that calculation while eating, while staring at a fire mission worksheet at 0200 with eyes that stopped focusing 40 minutes ago. You have been awake 31 hours. At 16:30, the Marines take Suribachi. Someone on your crew, the youngest one, begins crying without making any sound, just tears. You see it and you say nothing because you have exactly 45 seconds before the next fire mission comes in and you need him functional, not comforted. You give him 45 seconds. Then the radio opens up. You pick up the worksheet. Your eyes have stopped focusing. Your hands haven't. The first night you are a platoon leader, you lie awake trying to remember 40 names. You get to 31, then the same 7 keep slipping. You start over. 33, then the same 4. You are not failing a test. You are understanding for the first time what it means that these are not names on a roster. They are people asleep 20 meters away who will go exactly where you tell them to go tomorrow morning without asking why. That is not authority. That is something much heavier than authority. Master Sergeant Vernon Cole has been doing this since 1938. He does not undermine you. He does not correct you in front of the men. He stands slightly behind you and to the left during every patrol brief, and when you finish, he speaks quietly. One suggestion, always one, and he is always right. What you notice after 3 weeks is something else entirely. Cole never sits when you are standing. Not once. Not to rest. Not to read a map. Not to eat. If you are on your feet, Cole is on his feet. You ask him about it at the end of the 3rd week. He looks at you for a moment and says nothing. Then he goes back to his coffee. You think about it for 2 days before you understand. It is not deference, it is geometry. He is always positioned to move the instant you need him to. He has been doing it so long he no longer notices. That is the whole education, not tactics, not doctrine. Watching a man who has made excellence into something he no longer has to think about. Northern France, October 1944. Your platoon is tasked with crossing a bridge marked passable on a 3-day-old map. Cole looks at the map, looks at you, says nothing. You order a scout ahead. The bridge is gone. Has been for days. You find another route. The mission succeeds. Afterward, Cole says simply, "Good call on the scout, sir." That's all. But you know what he is really saying. He is saying, you are starting to see what I see. You are starting to see it before I have to show you. You lose one man taking the objective. Private First Class Ray Gutierrez, 20 years old, El Paso, Texas. During the brief, he asked you a question you can no longer remember. You remember the question. You cannot remember your answer. You write his family that night. It takes 2 hours and says almost nothing true. 6 more letters are coming. You don't know that yet. You have a small notebook. Nobody knows about it. It fits in the left breast pocket of your field jacket, and it has been there every day for 8 months. Inside it are 151 names. Next to each name is not a hometown, not a serial number, not a next of kin. It is one detail, one specific observed thing. Kowalski retightens his bootlace before every breach. Pruitt never asks how much further. Henderson hums the same 4 bars of something when he is cleaning his rifle, always stops at the same place, never finishes it. 151 details. You read them at night the way other men read letters from home. This is what command actually means. Not rank, not the authority to give orders. The weight of 151 human beings whose lives move through your decisions the way current moves through wire. You are the wire. You do not get to choose whether the current runs. Germany, March 1945. Your battalion is pushing east across the Rhine, through a heartland that knows it is losing and has not yet decided what to do with that knowledge. A desperate army on its own soil is capable of things a confident one isn't. You learned that in France. You have not forgotten it. Orders from battalion: seize the town of Kirchberg by nightfall. What battalion doesn't know is that Kirchberg has SS troops in it, not Wehrmacht, SS. This distinction matters in a specific and irreversible way. Wehrmacht soldiers surrender when the mathematics of their situation becomes undeniable. SS soldiers have a different mathematics entirely. You understand their logic. The fact that you understand it is not a comfortable thing to know about yourself. You give the mortars priority. Hold the tank destroyers back until the infantry fixes the SS positions. Then bring them forward for direct fire. You push through in 90 minutes. The SS holding the church hold until they cannot. Some hold past that point. You understand why. That is the part that stays with you, not the violence. The understanding. The after-action report takes 2 hours. It will use the word acceptable. You write it. You will never use that word again. By the time you finish, it is 0100. Your company is dug in on the eastern edge of Kirchberg. Tomorrow there will be another town. Tonight there are 151 names, and some of them are already becoming past tense. You don't write those ones in the notebook. It is 0400, and you are standing in front of a map, and you have not been outside in 3 days. You notice this the way you notice a sound that has stopped. Not dramatically, just an absence that suddenly has a shape. 3 days ago, you were still close enough to the forward positions to hear small arms fire in the distance. Now you are here, in this room, with these maps, and the war is something that arrives to you in reports and radio transmissions, and the carefully measured voices of men who have learned to brief bad news without sounding like bad news. You command a regiment, 3,500 men on paper. You have not spoken to most of them. That is not failure. That is the geometry of this rank. Your job is not to know every man. Your job is to make every decision that shapes the ground every man stands on. Your S2 is a major named Meredith. He briefs with a pencil, never a pen. You asked him once. He said, "In case I'm wrong, sir." That told you everything about him. You trust Meredith's pencil more than most men's certainty. Philippines, January 1945. Your regiment landed at Lingayen Gulf and has been pushing south through Luzon toward Manila for 3 weeks. The terrain changes constantly. The Japanese defense is neither uniform nor predictable, which is the most dangerous kind of defense there is because it cannot be solved in advance. It can only be read in real time by someone paying very close attention. Your battalion commander on the right flank pushes too fast and exposes his left. You radio him. Voice level, no elevation, no edge. The correction is given in 11 words. The flank closes. The gap existed for 40 minutes. Nobody outside your staff will ever know exactly how it should be. You know this officer. You knew him before the war. You know the specific pressure that makes good men push too fast. The need to prove the decision was right by making it succeed through force rather than patience. You don't correct it with anger. You correct it with 11 words and move on. Because above this rank, there is a world of divisions and army-level decisions, and you are not there yet. You are here. Luzon heat, Meredith at your shoulder. A pencil mark on a map that represents 40 minutes nobody will remember. Somewhere above you, a general is about to make a decision that will reshape this entire campaign. You don't know it yet, but you will feel it before you understand it in the supply numbers, in the air support schedules, in the particular quality of silence between orders. You hold the front. That is the whole enormous invisible job. There is a map on the wall that nobody asks about, not the tactical map. Every officer who walks into this room goes straight to the tactical map, the front lines, the unit positions, the arrows showing direction of advance. That map they understand. The one on the opposite wall, the one showing cities, roads, population centers, the places where people actually live. That one they glance at and move past. In 4 weeks of command, one officer stopped to look at it. A colonel, young, newly assigned. He stood in front of it for a full minute without speaking. Then he asked a question about civilian evacuation corridors. You remembered his name that day. You still know it. You do not carry a rifle. You haven't in years. This does not mean you are far from the war. It means the war has grown large enough that someone needs to stand back far enough to see all of it at once. That someone is you. You command the 3rd Infantry Division. North Africa, 1942, Tunisia, Sicily, mainland Italy, southern France. Now driving northeast through Alsace toward the German border in the winter of 1944. Your men are not fresh, they are experienced. Those are not the same thing, and the difference matters more than any piece of equipment, any reinforcement, any tactical advantage. Your day begins before 0600, not because anyone requires it. Because your division is in contact somewhere along its front at every hour and being ahead of events, already thinking about the afternoon while the morning is still forming is the only discipline that works at this level. You are not choosing which squad goes through which door, you are moving time. Every order you give changes when something will happen to someone. That someone is 19 years old and lying in a frozen foxhole outside a village in Alsace watching a tree line he has been watching for 6 hours. He does not know your name. He does not know what the operational picture looks like. He knows the tree line. As a captain, you carried the names of every man you lost. As a major general, you carry the numbers. Which battalions are at 60% strength? Which are at 85. You work to keep those numbers as low as the mission allows, not as sentiment, but because a division that bleeds itself empty wins the battle and loses everything after it. The private in the foxhole will never know how many decisions shaped the frozen ground he is standing on, the supply lines that reached him, the artillery coordination that silenced the position that would have found him at dawn, the boundary negotiations with adjacent divisions that kept his flank coherent. All of it flows down through the chain and arrives at his position as a single wordless fact. You are not alone. He will never know your name. That is not a failure of the system. That is the system working exactly as it should. A general's war is fought in rooms with maps. It is won or lost in foxholes. Every general who understood that, not as a phrase, but as a daily obligation, is the reason the men are still fighting. The country will not know what it had in these men. Not for years, maybe not ever, fully. What held them together has no name in any field manual. It will disperse when the war ends, back into grocery stores and factory floors and front porches, and the country will go on and will not know the shape of what it is standing on. The war ends twice. May 1945 in Europe, September 1945 in the Pacific. The men come home on ships that smell like diesel and salt and 300 bodies that haven't slept properly in years. They stand on docks in New York and San Francisco and look at the people waiting for them, and something in their faces is very still, the way water is still before it freezes. They don't talk about it, not at first, not for years, not because it was too painful, because there was no language for it that the people who weren't there could follow, and these men had spent enough of themselves making sure other people could move through the world safely. They were not going to spend what was left explaining. Alabama. Thomas Pruitt is teaching his son to tie his boots. Pull it tight, he says. Tighter than that? His son asks why so tight. Pruitt says, in case you need to move fast. He does not explain further. His son will ask again when he is older. Pruitt will give the same answer. Ohio. A customer asks Calvin Okonkwo how he diagnosed an engine problem in a completely dark garage. Okonkwo wipes his hands on a cloth and says, "You learn the shape of things, not the look of them." That is all he says. The customer doesn't fully understand. That is fine. Virginia. Vernon Cole reads the newspaper every morning from the back page forward. His wife has never asked why. If she did, he would say, "The back pages are where the real things happen." Then he would pour his coffee and that would be the end of it. None of them are heroes in any story anyone is telling. They are the reason the stories have endings at all. They came home, they went quiet, they built things, they showed up every ordinary morning. For the rest of their lives, they got up and did what needed doing, without being asked, and without being thanked, and without stopping. They held.